Hi, welcome back to Just an Everyday Fan. As we know, the Aces have swept thus far the Mercury in the WNBA Finals 2-0. And we'll see how the outcome. If they are able to hold that, they will play 4 games and then be out. If Mercury comes back, it is the best of 7. So we've got a lot going on. Let's talk about some of the things. So Napheesa Collier put out a statement. As we all know, it's been played. And I didn't watch it for about the first 3 or 4 days because I wanted to have a clean take on it. I didn't get on the internet. I didn't look at what people were saying. So I watched Fee's statement. It's about a 4-minute statement regarding Cathy Engelberg. As we all know, Fee Collier is one of the co-founders with Breanna Stewart in the Unrivaled League. Now, everyone is saying that this is, well, some people are saying that this is a conflict of interest. And if you go back on my earlier video, I said all along that this was a conflict of interest because she's sitting on the both Breanna Stewart and Fee Collier are sitting on the WNBA PA Association board as VPs. It gets real muddy because the definition of conflict of interest in something like this is that you're going to benefit from an action taken or not taken by the league, right? So if the league goes into a shutdown mode and the players strike, then Fee and Breanna Stewart have the ability to actually benefit from this financially, monetarily, because they are the co-founders and co-owners of the Unrivaled League. Now, we all know basketball, women's basketball, men's basketball, it's the same, right? The difference is what they get paid. So a man on the NBA team gets paid 10 to 50 million plus 50% of the cut. That's significant. So on revenue share. Now, the females get a max contract of $249,000 and only 10% of revenue share. That's not so significant because when we're talking about females coming in to the WNBA from, say, a college or a free agency where they walk on and they get drafted, you're talking about really 4 years of low contractual agreement play. 4 years. It starts, I believe, in the 60s and then goes up each year after that to around 98 to 100,000. Now, it's after that 4 years, if they're still playing, if they're still healthy, that their agents can negotiate depending upon their success during those 4 years. They can negotiate other contracts with other teams, and that's where the money starts coming in, up into max contract like Kelsey Mitchell, okay? So the older players have the max contracts. Now let's talk about the sport of basketball. It's not unlike any other sport. You have a player who's great, who is a professional and has the ability to come into the WNBA. There is a finite number of years that they can play if they stay healthy. So they have an opportunity, a window of opportunity that is finite. It is literally set forth. unless your name is Diana Taurasi, and then you push that to the edge of the envelope, right? So she was able to play. But look at Dwana Bonner. She's 37, I believe. This year, she's had difficulty. She's had difficulty running, keeping up, being winded. She's getting older. So that finite window is closing for Dwana Bonner, for someone like Dwana Bonner. So when they come in, they have a certain number of years that they can play. And they have to be successful in those years to continue playing, or they have to go overseas to places like China and Turkey and the overseas teams. Now we have Unrivaled that has popped up, and this is a pop-up 3-on-3, and everyone says, oh, well, it's different, it's not the same, it's not 5-on-5, it's 3-on-3, it's totally different. Yes, it is, but it still conflicts. So these players have now, because of the uncertainty waters in the CBA agreement and not knowing if there's going to be a 2026 season, a lot of players have signed and they're on with the Unrivaled League. Now, the Unrivaled League has 48 positions, 46 are already taken. The one name we don't see in there is Caitlin Clark. Why? I don't think Caitlin Clark wants to risk. I think she would do well in Unrivaled. I don't know if she wants to risk injury in Unrivaled, because Caitlin Clark is playing the long game, right? And she doesn't need the money. Let's face it. The reason why most of these players are going over and playing in international leagues, in Unrivaled, is because they have a finite window in which to earn their money. And half of that window is at a lower salary. It's at a very low salary. So unless you're a Caitlin Clark or a Paige Beckers or a Napheesa Collier and Brianna Stewart, and you get contracts outside, you get sponsorship and contracts outside to rep brands, you're not going to make the money. You're going to have your season money, which could be anything from 60-something thousand to 100,000 in your 4 years. And usually that's a stair step. So the first 4 years are less than 100,000. That's not a lot of money, especially when you live in some place like California or New York or big metroplexes like Dallas-Fort Worth, or another one would be Atlanta. So you have Las Vegas, you have various, cost of living states that are higher than others. So let's look at what's going on. I mean, this whole thing. So I want to put a couple of things out there. Number one, I looked at some of the reactions to what Napheesa Collier said, and most players agreed with Napheesa Collier's take on Cathy Engelberg. Now, I'm going to put two up because they're two very different ways in which to go about. The first one is going to be Caitlin Clark, and the second one is going to be Sophie Cunningham. And I want you to see the difference, but they're really saying the same thing. Now,
obviously there's been a lot kind of going on this week.
What?
may have heard some things. Wanted to see after Napheesa's comments and what she alleged that Cathy Engelbert had said specifically about you, what your thoughts were on that, and have a follow-up.
Well, I mean, first of all, I have great respect for Fee, and I think she made a lot of very valid points. And, I think what people need to understand, we need great leadership in this time across all levels. This is straight up the most important moment in this league's history. This league's been around for 25 plus years, and this is a moment we have to capitalize on. So that's honestly what I would say. I think there's, Fee said it all with what she said, and I think the points she made were very valid.
Had you heard that story from her before
No.
she said it publicly? And then have you spoken with Cathy Engelbert or heard from her at all since then?
No.
Thank you.
So you said after Game 5, I got a lot on my mind.
Oh boy.
What particularly, in what direction was your mind racing at that juncture?
I mean, everywhere. And I'm going to be good today. I am, because I'm just tired of our league. They need to step up and be better. Our leadership from top to bottom needs to be held accountable. I think that there are a lot of people in the position of powers in the WNBA who they might be really great business people, but they don't know shit about basketball, and that's got to change. I said I was going to be good, and I just messed up. But I do. I think everyone's frustrated when NBA players from that side of things are reaching out to us, just like in awe of how terrible it is. Like, that's saying something. That is absolutely saying something when your counterpart is feeling bad for us because of how we're getting treated. I mean, come on. And that's from leadership. That's from, I'll just leave it there. From our leadership, it's just bad. When fans and players, especially players, when we're competing at the highest level and it's like a battlefield out there, when we're agreeing on the court because of how awful the officials are, like that's saying something. Like, listen to us. We're not going to come for your heads, but I think there is room for improvement to change the criteria when the whole league is asking for it. But when the leadership isn't doing anything about it, why? And so I think there's just frustration. The game's not fun to watch because everyone's just trying to kill each other, because that's how you're going to survive. Otherwise, you get injured. I don't know. It just sucks. Our game is changing, and yeah, we want it to be physical, but at the same time, like, you still want to watch good basketball. And when they can't get that under control, it's not fun.
Okay, so we're back. We've heard Caitlin Clark. We've heard Sophie Cunningham. Two very different ways of presenting. Caitlin Clark is Switzerland. She's not going to say anything good or bad about either Fee or Cathy. She's a political machine, right? She knows what hands feed her. She knows what she needs to say, even though she might be thinking it. She's not going to say it. Sophie, I gotta love her. I mean, you can say a lot about Sophie Cunningham, but she does not hold back. And if you think I'm kidding, watch her podcast, Show Me Something with West. She has been fined on every episode that when she was playing, the WNBA fined her because she let it rip. She let it rip about the officiating. She let it rip about dirty players. She holds nothing back. Now, you can say that, well, Sophie just has a mouth on her, and that could be true. Yes, she's not politically charged. She's putting it out there. She has no filter. Everything's coming out. Her emotion is coming out very raw. Caitlin Clark has a filter. Aaliyah Boston has a filter. Even Kelsey Mitchell, in her own way, filtered. So they're walking a fine line here. Now, as far as Sophie goes, I think Sophie's done the math. We can all do the math, right? If the CBA agreement goes forward, and the deadline is October 31st. So we have two teams that are still trying to battle it out for the finals, for the championships. Everyone else has moved on to the CBA agreement, and that's what they're looking at. Now, the CBA agreement is, if you haven't looked, you have the owners in the WNBA, Cathy Engelberg, on one side, right? Then you have the WNBA PA on the other side, the Players Association. And in that Players Association, you have the president, who is, you have Neke is the president, Kelsey Plum is the first VP, Brianna Turner is the treasurer, Elizabeth Williams is the secretary, and then underneath you have Alicia Clark, Brianna Stewart, Napheesa Collier as second VPs. Okay? Then you have, each team has two players that represent them. You have a primary and an alternate. I don't know if it's completely updated on the site because some of the players have been traded to other teams. But you have primary and alternatives. For instance, the primary for the Indiana Fever is Aaliyah Boston. The alternate is Lexi Hall. October 31st is fastly approaching. I know the players had a call. I don't know the outcome of that call. I don't think we're going to know the outcome of that call. I think they're going to hold their hand close to their chest until the actual time comes. I can tell you that it's looking, and I hate to use this word, kind of scary for both sides. We know what the big issues are as far as the players go. It's the officiating and the physicality of the league, the number of injuries that have occurred because of those things, right? Then you have the next big thing, which is the revenue share. The women want more revenue share. Are they going to get 50%? Unlikely. They will probably settle around 30 if the owners give them that. We don't know. Is the lockout imminent? We don't know. But it's not looking real great. They did have the effect of Caitlin Clark. And in the beginning of the season, that gave them all the playing cards. But right now, not so much. Basically, Caitlin getting hurt, which, think about it. So if Caitlin's taken out, the Caitlin Clark effect goes away. The WNBA has no worries on that end because they have now refuted, well, all it takes is one player to get hurt and all of our profits go down the drain. We go back to where we were before, which was not making any money. So it's interesting that Caitlin Clark seemed to be the number one target to take out this season. Any time she got on the court, the officiating, which was really brought down by Cathy Engelberg, she can tell the officials what to do, how to make the calls. That can happen. And especially in a world of online betting and odds, and is most probably happening. Now, it doesn't appear to be a clean game. So it seems like game after game after game, when I watched it, there were calls that were just outrageous on fouls and on non-foul. So they weren't calling fouls on players, and then they were calling soft touches as fouls, personal fouls. Where you're going, what? So it affects, and you can say what you want to, but the officiating affects the outcome of the game. It affects the number of times a player goes to the free throw line. It affects the number of players that they can pull from the bench, because if you're someone like Aaliyah Boston, they're calling fouls, she's benched, right? Any other player, the same way. They're taken out of the game after 6 fouls. So when you're in the paint and you're working and defending, it's very easy to be called with fouls. So the officiation directly affects the outcome of the game. And I think we know it's not an easy job. As I said in my last video, we get it. But it needs to be a professional team. And the teams seem to have bias. So that needs to be taken out of the picture, period. And I don't know what needs to happen or where they need to get their officials, but that needs to be one of the big overhauls if next year is coming to fruition. Now, Unrivaled. So Breanna Stewart and Napheesa Collier. Yes, they stand to gain because now all of their slots are filling up. They have 2 open slots currently, but a couple of the people that have signed, 2 that I know offhand, Natasha Cloud and Lee LaRue from Dallas Wings, they're injured. And I'm not sure how that's going to work. I don't know if they'll just open up those 2 spots, how that's going to work as far as if they're going to be ready to play. I'm not sure. I don't know when the season starts for the Unrivaled League. But even though it's not directly in conflict with the WNBA, it is a way for these players to make extra money. Now, all along the CBA agreement, the owners have tried to keep the players from going to other countries before Unrivaled was around, right? So they didn't want the players on their off season to go to other countries and play basketball for fear they would get hurt and then they would be dealing with issues. And we saw that this year with a couple of players. They were injured. Dantas being one of them. This is all getting very messy. Do I think that there is a conflict with Breanna and Napheesa? Yes. I love both of them as players. I respect them as players. But do I think there's a direct conflict? Yes. Should they probably step down from those senior positions? Yes. I do think they should. If it were my league, I would try to get Caitlin Clark on one of the positions. But there's a good side and a bad side to that. Caitlin's a politician. She's not going to go against the team, so to speak. I don't think she's going to have the voice. She is in her first 4 years. It's going to be very difficult as, let's just say, a rookie in her first 4-year contract to really make waves with the owners. That is not where Caitlin wants to be. I think we saw that through her injury, all of her injuries. There were a couple of times when Caitlin was really upset with the officiating and she let it fly during post-game, but then she was reprimanded for it. So maybe Caitlin has been beat into submission. Would she be a good replacement? I'm not sure. But I think they need to replace Fee and Stewie. They need to probably take a less active role. Maybe they drop to one of the player primaries for their teams, and then somebody else comes up to take their position. Now, the CBA deadline is October 31st. There could be an extension because of the time. However, I do not know if the owners are going to grant an extension. So the way that players move around in the league are free agency, trades, and buyouts. Now, Caitlin Clark could go to another team if that team wanted to buy her contract out and Indiana wanted to release Caitlin Clark. The buyouts are less popular than the free agency and the trades, but they can occur. It's just who's going to pay the price. So as far as Indiana, Caitlin Clark would be an expensive buyout. Even though her contract is not a very high contract, I don't know if they could put revenue share in that as well. If they put revenue share in that and ticket sales and everything like that, that they would be losing if they let her go, that's a lot of money. Because as we know, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Paige Beckers, Asia Wilson, they all bring eyes, right? They bring eyes to their teams, to the league. So, what do y'all think on this? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thank you. Please hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.